Hi YouTube, I'm going to share a dream with you guys that I had last night. So this was yet another cross-contamination dream. And God showed me something new in this dream, which I pretty much already figured was true, but God confirmed it in my dream. So, and also this dream is not the first dream in which was very similar to another dream I had, which I will tell you about. So this dream starts, and I was in a school. It was me and my teacher, and my teacher was grading one of my test papers or something after class, and there was no one in the classroom except for me and her. And we were talking about stuff, and I don't really know what we were talking about, but she said something along the lines of this. She was like, well, you know, the girls are wondering why you never talk to them. I never see you getting any action with the ladies. What's up with that? And I said, well, let me tell you why. And she said, why? I said, well, there's a threat going on right now that's much more scary than people realize. It's called cross-contamination. She said, what's cross-contamination? I said, all the people that took the jab are contaminated. She said, how are they contaminated? I said, well, what's in that jab is very bad, and people took many of those jabs, and with each jab, the side effects are worse. They're pumping their body full of things that should not be in their body. She said, well, what's in it? I said, well, in that jab is HIV, aborted baby fetal tissue, heavy metals, and specifically I said graphene oxide and nanotechnology. So there's literally little micro bots in people. So people are being tracked on a worldwide map. Their vitals are being recorded. Their brain activities being recorded. The government, the world governments, the health organizations, they have everything. I mean, they already do, but it's even worse when you put something in your body and you're being tracked all the time. I mean, they track us anyways, but why would you want to do that? And my teacher said, there's no way everyone has AIDS. You're saying everyone has HIV and AIDS. And I said, that's exactly what I'm saying. And she said, so why don't you talk to the girls? I said, well, here's the thing. The silent threat going around right now is cross-contamination. What it is when a jab person mixes bodily fluids with an unjabbed person, like kissing, eating after each other, drinking after each other, even fighting, like you're fighting someone, you elbow someone in the face or the cheek, and your elbow bone cuts their cheek open, and your elbow gets cut open, and the blood or saliva or sweat mixes into your blood, and it goes in your bloodstream. That HIV is now in your bloodstream. You are contaminated. And she said, well, who cares if people are contaminated? And I said, well, I don't want AIDS, but here's the kicker here. The side effects to getting contaminated, the consequences are people losing their teeth. Their teeth are gonna fall out in a bloody mess, and all the jab people are gonna get a really bad droopy eye. It's gonna look almost like people have Bell's palsy. And she was like, oh my gosh. But she kind of she didn't want to believe it. Like she knew something that I didn't know. And she didn't want to believe it. I knew she believed me in the dream, but she was like, I don't believe that. But I knew that this teacher believed what I was saying, but she was freaked out. She was really freaked out. And I said, well, if you don't believe me, then let me ask you this. You ever have nightmares? At night, you go to sleep, and you have nightmares where you're running out of your bed, your house is dark, you run to the bathroom, you turn on your light switch, you look in the mirror and open your mouth, and all your teeth are falling out in a bloody, painful fashion, and you're holding all your teeth, and you're like, my teeth, and you're crying, and then you wake up, and this is what she did. So she was in like a rolly chair, and she went, oh my gosh, I do. And I said, exactly. And she said, that's what that means? And I said, that's exactly what that means. Those dreams are from God. God is showing everybody future dream warnings of cross-contamination, and people do not know what they're dreaming of. She said, oh, I thought it just meant like you're stressed or something. I said, no, no, no. Everybody making videos on these dream interpretations of teeth falling out dreams are not true. They're all liars. All these people making videos are making videos for views and attention. It is all lies. It is cross-contamination. And she said, oh my gosh, so you're telling me everybody has AIDS and they're spreading it around and people are getting contaminated and everyone's going to look really messed up in the future? I said, that's exactly what's going to happen. I said, this is why you don't see me going around kissing all these girls, doing all this stuff, because if I do that, I'm screwed and my teeth are going to fall out. But the people that took the jab, their teeth are not going to fall out. They're just going to get a droopy eye, like that Bell's palsy. And she was like shocked in the dream. And she believed me after that. She was like, oh my gosh. She's like, do you think I'm cross-contaminated? I said, well, you're either cross-contaminated or God is warning you that in the future, on your future path, you're going to get contaminated. So don't. I said, now you know this information. Now you know not to get contaminated. Don't eat or drink after people. Don't kiss people you're not supposed to. And I said, this is why I'm waiting on my kingdom spouse, my future wife that God has for me. Because the person that God has for me is not jabbed and not contaminated. And there is no other way to do it. And after that, I told her, I said, and this jab that people are taking, it's going to turn them into zombies. And she was like, really? And I said, yeah, anybody that took 2 or more jabs is going to be a zombie. Anyone that took 1, they're going to have the droopy eye. They're not going to be a zombie. They're still going to be a person, regular person, but they're just going to have to live with that droopy eye. And anybody that took 2 or more is going to be a zombie, because Richard, my best friend, you guys know him as Eyes Open California, he dreamt this. And in his dream, he was shown that with each jab comes an increased level of zombification. So there's that. Now, what's going to activate these people is the 5G towers. I specifically said it in a dream. I said the 5G towers are going to activate a pulse. There's going to be a pulse, like of a frequency. And this frequency is going to activate the metal, the graphene oxide that's coursing through everyone's bodies, and it's going to transform them into zombies. They're going to have a fear of water, like hydrophobia, like you ever see a raccoon with rabies. They will not go, or any animal with rabies, they will not drink water. They're afraid of it. The zombies are going to have that. And they're also going to be very fast, and they're not going to feel pain. So it's going to be really crazy. And my teacher was like, wow, so everyone's just kind of screwed then. I said, well, to put it plainly. And she said, wow, so I guess that explains everything. Now it makes sense. And I was like, yeah. And this is what I was going to say. I was trying to think of it. This is the second dream of the same exact theme in my dream. Because I had another dream. A lady was also asking me, because there's a place that I go with a lot of girls my age. And there was a lady in the dream that also was at the same place. And she was asking me, like, why don't you talk to any of the girls? And I told her the exact same thing as this dream. This is my second dream like this. Because people are getting contaminated, and I'm not going to have any part of that. I will not get myself contaminated, because I know better. I know what God has shown me, and I can't unsee it. Everybody's out there mingling with people they're not supposed to be mingling with, and they're getting contaminated. Everybody has HIV. They don't know it. They have heavy metals in their body. Of course, we're getting sprayed with heavy metals, but people are injecting heavy metals, graphene oxide, and nanotechnology, zombie AIDS in their body every 6 months. And it's going to have terrifying consequences. And this is what I said in the dream. And my teacher believed me. Now, I know I've kind of been ranting a little bit, but the next part of my dream, me and Richard were hanging out. We went on a run, and we came back home and we drank some water, and then we were walking past like one of my neighbors' houses, and they were having like a barbecue or a family get together or something, and everyone was outside, and there was like some people drinking beer, and their kids were playing, and I was talking to some of the neighbors, and I was walking through their yard, and it happened. The side effects of the contamination kicked in, and everyone's teeth were falling out, all at the same time. Everyone's teeth were falling out. Nobody knew what was going on or how this happened. They had no clue at all. And in this dream, I was walking through the yard, and one of my neighbors had a pet raccoon. I knew it was a pet because it was just, the kids were playing with it, and had a collar on with a little name tag. And as everyone was losing their teeth, the raccoon also lost its teeth, and me and Richard were watching it. It was on the ground, and it was hunched over like in pain, and it was coughing. I thought it was gonna puke. I was like, oh, this raccoon's gonna puke. And it did not puke. It coughed up a bunch of blood, and then all of its teeth just shot out. And in the dream, like my vision was like zoomed in on the raccoon and zoomed in on its teeth falling out, and everything else around it was blurred out. Everyone else was blurred out, and it was like super 4K, and I saw a bunch of blood splatter on the grass, and all its teeth also flew everywhere. And then it was freaking out, and it looked at us, and I saw in its mouth it had no teeth at all, and all these people had no teeth, and some people had that droopy eye. It was all messed up. And me and Richard basically walked away really fast. We're like, oh my gosh, it's happening right now. And then that was pretty much it. Everything else in the dream was more personal, but other than that, the dream ended, and I woke up. So God showed me that animals can get cross-contaminated. If you have an animal and you're hanging out with a jabbed person, and your animal, your pet, licks a jabbed person on the mouth, and that saliva goes in your animal and it enters its bloodstream, your animal's contaminated, and your animal's going to lose its teeth. And if someone that's jabbed is eating or drinking or anything, hanging out with you, and your animal eats after them or drinks after them, also contaminated. And your animal's going to lose its teeth. This is what I saw in the dream. So be very careful who you hang around. Be very careful where you let your animal go and what you let your animal eat and lick, because your animals can get contaminated. If you have an animal that just kind of runs off and comes back and licks you, and you don't know where it's been, it could be contaminated. Who knows? There could be someone drinking a drink outside that took the jab, and your animal runs off and goes to lick the cup and lick the juice out of a bottle or something, and comes back home and licks you on the mouth. You're contaminated. So this is yet another thing to look out for. God specifically showed me this. Like when that raccoon spit its teeth out, it was like 4K quality. And I was like, oh my gosh, the animals can get contaminated too. And Richard in my dream said, oh my gosh. Yeah, so now me and Richard figured this in real life, but God confirmed it in a dream. So that was pretty much it. So do with this information what you must, and keep an eye on your animals, and be very careful who you hang out with, because people need to know this stuff. And yeah, that's it. So do with this information what you must, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. God bless you.